Hawk 2 for the White Boy by Tyla Walker.
Welcome to another episode of Tyla TV.
Tyla TV is designed to give you a complete romance story within an hour to an hour and a half.
Perfect for that unexpected free time.
Or that commute.
Listen to them on the go.
Or when you want something, but don't want to make a big commitment.
As always, get the unabridged version at tylawalker.com and use discount code SAVE40 to take 40% off all digital products.
And now, let's get to our story.
Once again, thanks for joining us for Hawk 2 for the White Boy by Tyla Walker. Chapter 1. Layla. I glance at the clock on the wall. It's ticking, matching the rapid beat of my heart. It's almost noon, and I haven't sold a single cupcake. My shop, Sweet Dreams, used to be the heart of this neighborhood. Now it's just another storefront, struggling to keep its lights on in a gentrified landscape. "Morning, Layla," Mrs. Jenkins calls out as she walks in, her smile a comforting sight. She's been a regular since my grandma opened this place 50 years ago. "Morning, Mrs. Jenkins. The usual, or should we switch it up?" I ask, already reaching for a lemon lavender cupcake, one of my newer flavors that hasn't quite caught on yet. "Oh, Layla, you know I'm an old woman set in her ways." "Usual it is," she says with a kind smile. Her order never changes, despite my best efforts. 1 bourbon pecan pie cupcake for herself and a lavender vanilla cupcake for her sister, who she visits at the nursing home. I begin packing up her cupcakes as she's peering over her glasses at the display case. "How's business been?" I force a smile. "Oh, you know, it's interesting." She frowns. "Interesting isn't good." I chuckle softly, shaking my head. "Not always." Just as I hand her the cupcakes and bid her farewell, the door swings open with a loud jingle. A lone man strides in, tall, broad-shouldered, with an air of authority that immediately fills the room. He's wearing a suit that probably costs more than my entire month's rent, and judging by the look on his face, I highly doubt he's here to indulge in a snickerdoodle cupcake. "Who's that?" Mrs. Jenkins whispers. "No idea," I whisper back before straightening up and plastering on my best customer service smile. "Hello and welcome to Sweet Dreams. What can I get for you?" I do my best to smile confidently, despite the weird feeling I have deep in the pit of my stomach. He approaches the counter, his gaze scanning the shop before landing on me. "Layla?" "That's me," I say, trying to ignore how his deep voice sends shivers down my spine. "I'm Marcus Reed," he says, extending a hand. His grip is firm and confident, just like him. "What can I do for you, Marcus?" I ask, pulling my hand back and wiping it on my apron. He doesn't waste any time with pleasantries. "I'm here on behalf of your landlord to discuss your lease." My stomach drops. I make my way around the counter to stand in front of him. "What's there to discuss?" "I've already talked to the landlord." "I'm aware, but he's decided to sell the building." He says it like it's just another business transaction for him, nothing personal. "Sell? But I've been paying rent on time." Panic edges into my voice, despite my efforts to stay calm. Mrs. Jenkins places a comforting hand on my shoulder, but stays silent. Marcus nods slowly, as if he understands but doesn't care. He received an offer too big to refuse. "Who would buy this place?" My voice cracks slightly. "I'm not at liberty to discuss that." His eyes lock onto mine, unwavering. For a moment, I'm speechless. Then anger bubbles up inside me. This can't be happening. Someone can't just come in here and take away everything my family has worked for. My mind races. This guy can't just waltz in here and drop a bombshell like this. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. "So there's no way around this? I'm losing my shop?" I cross my arms, mimicking his stance. Marcus raises an eyebrow, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth, as he looks around my quaint little shop. Well, unless you have the funding to buy it. Do you watch the news? I challenge, my voice sharp. Do you think anyone in this day and age has the funding to just up and buy a building? There are people that can barely manage to put food on the table. Then people like you swoop in and want to steamroll over a staple in this town just to turn it into some bougie organic juice bar with adoptable cats roaming around. He chuckles. You have quite the imagination. And you have quite the nerve. I snap back, glaring at him. I roll my eyes, turning to grab one of my latest creations from the display case, a maple bacon cupcake. I place it in front of him with a flourish. Take this to the landlord. Tell him it's on the house. His eyebrow quirks up again as he looks at the cupcake, then back at me. You think a cupcake's going to change his mind? No, I say sweetly. But it'll give him a taste of what he's about to destroy. He picks up the cupcake, examining it like he's never seen one before. Smells good, right? I can't help but feel a tiny bit smug. It does, he admits. But it won't change anything. Money sometimes speaks louder than one's conscience. Of course, how could I forget? I reply sarcastically. Because why would something as trivial as people's livelihoods matter to a money-hungry? Layla, Mrs. Jenkins interjects softly, giving me a look that says, be careful. I sigh and turn back to Marcus. He slides a crisp envelope across the table. My name, written in bold, elegant script, catches my eye. My fingers tremble as I tear it open. Read it? It has all the necessary information, he says, his voice firm but not unkind. I stand there, hoping that I might hear the distant shrill ring of my alarm clock waking me up, and this will all be a dream. Mrs. Layla? The voice of the doomsday deliverer reorients me back to reality. I have to go. My contact information is inside if you need to reach me. Have a great day, he says with a smile. He turns and casually walks out of the shop like he didn't just send my whole world into a spiral. Layla, honey, Mrs. Jenkins says, you should probably open it and see what it says. My shaking hands begin to open the folder. The words on the paper blur for a moment before coming into focus. My breath hitches. Eviction notice. Okay, go on. What else does it say? Mrs. Jenkins replies. I have 30 days. I echo, my voice rising. And the new projected owner is asking triple the rent of what I pay now. Oh, honey, Mrs. Jenkins says as she pulls me in for a hug. Her soft embrace makes me miss my grandmother terribly. This can't be happening. I grip the edge of the counter to steady myself. This place is all I have. I understand this is difficult, Mrs. Jenkins says with a kind smile. But sometimes change is inevitable. You just have to trust that the destination in the end is worthwhile. I'll find a way, I say fiercely. More to myself than to her. I won't let sweet dreams die. Now that's the girl I know. Mrs. Jenkins smiles sweetly while grabbing my hand. I must be going now. Alice gets grumpy if she doesn't get her cupcake before bingo. With one last look over her shoulder, she walks out the door. With her exit, a sense of determination fills me. This bakery means everything to me. No money-hungry tyrant will take it away without a fight. I look around Sweet Dreams, inhaling the familiar scents of sugar and vanilla that have comforted me since childhood. My grandmother's photo on the wall seems to smile down at me, her eyes twinkling with mischief and hope. I promise, I whisper to her image. I'll save this place.
Chapter 2. Derek. The scent of vanilla and fresh lemon hits me the moment I push open the door to Sweet Dreams Bakery. It's a small place, cozy with pastel walls and framed photos of people. I glance around, tugging my baseball cap lower. The last thing I need is someone recognizing me. I've decided to go incognito and size up the bakery and the woman who Marcus Reed so fondly refers to as the pistol. I always like to go and observe these businesses in their natural habitats before I decide just what I want to do with them. I'm not some heartless business mogul out for blood. I'm just merely in the business of making advancements for the area and improvements for the future. And the paycheck that comes with that certainly doesn't hurt. The aroma of fresh pastries mingles with the faint smell of coffee, pulling me back to the counter. The woman, Layla, stands behind the counter, boxing up an order with quick, efficient movements. She's a stunning black woman, skin glowing like rich caramel, eyes sharp and focused. A hint of a smile plays on her lips as she chats with a customer. I step forward, clearing my throat. "Excuse me, can I get one of those salted caramel cupcakes?" She looks up, eyebrow arched. "You got good taste. You must have a sweet tooth." "Yeah, something like that," I reply. I continue watching as she selects a cupcake from the display case. "Will this be for here, or should I pack it up for you?" she says with a smile. I glance around the shop. "I think I'll just eat it here." Layla grabs the cupcake with its swirled frosting and delicate caramel drizzle. Just as she's about to place it in my hands across the counter, her hand slips. The cupcake tumbles from her grasp and lands frosting side down. "Damn," she mutters under her breath. "It's fine," I say quickly, trying to diffuse the situation. "Stuff happens." "Not supposed to happen. That's like the ultimate bakery party foul," she grumbles as she reaches for the cleaning rag beside her. Our fingers brush as we both reach for the rag. The touch sends a jolt through me, like static electricity, but deeper, more alive. I pull back slightly, caught off guard. "Careful," Layla quips, her voice tinged with sarcasm. "Billionaire hands probably aren't used to manual labor." I chuckle, shaking off the unexpected spark. "What makes you think I'm a billionaire?" She looks at me skeptically, wiping frosting from her fingers with a napkin. "Maybe the Rolex on your arm is a good indicator? You're either a billionaire or a thief." I raise an eyebrow, intrigued. Maybe it was a gift for winning the Great British Bake Off? Layla laughs, but there's a glint of something, maybe curiosity, in her eyes. "You wouldn't last an hour in my kitchen." "Is that so?" I step closer, folding my arms. "Guess we'll never know." Her gaze locks onto mine, assessing me like I'm an ingredient she can't quite figure out. Finally, she laughs, a genuine melodic sound that cuts through the tension. "First time here?" "Yeah," I say, trying to sound casual. "Heard good things." Layla chuckles, the sound warm and inviting. "Well, whoever told you wasn't lying." "How much do I owe you?" I ask, while fishing my wallet from my pocket. "Nothing. It's on the house. Or better yet, it was on the counter." She laughs as she blows a strand of hair out of her face. She watches as I stick a $20 bill in the tip jar. "Thank you," she says with a shy smile. "It means more than you know." I glance around the bakery again, trying to memorize every detail. I should be well on my way by now, but I'm so intrigued by this woman I can't bring myself to leave. "You run this place all by yourself?" I question. She shrugs, wiping her hands on her apron. "Mostly. My grandma started it 50 years ago." I nod slowly. "Impressive." I take a bite of the salted caramel cupcake, the flavors exploding in my mouth. It's rich, sweet, with a hint of salt that lingers just right. Damn, she's good. I subconsciously decide to be a moron and push my luck. "So," I say, leaning on the counter slightly, "what's with the eviction notice outside?" Her expression hardens instantly. The smile vanishes as if it was never there. "It's nothing." I raise my hands in mock surrender. "Just curious." Layla narrows her eyes at me but doesn't respond immediately. Finally, she sighs and shakes her head. "Look," she says, softer this time but still guarded. "It's a sore subject, but if there's nothing else I can help you with, I've got work to do. She starts to walk away from the counter. So, you don't wonder who bought this building? She turns around quickly, suspicion clouding her features. Why? You got insider info? Something like that. It's me. I'm Derek Whitmore.
Chapter 3. Layla. I grip the counter, my knuckles turning white. So I was right about the billionaire stuff after all, huh? I arch an eyebrow, hoping my face stays neutral. Here I was thinking we were going to be friends. Never, I say flatly, turning to wipe down the counter with more force than necessary. So you just wanted to come down here and rub it in my face that you're destroying my business? No, that wasn't my intention at all. I just wanted to put a face with the name. Despite what you may think, I don't get off on hurting people. I like for them to consider that I'm human too, and I'm only doing my job. I straighten up and face him again. I don't care to hear it. You can shove. The realization hits me like a freight train. Wait, did you say Derek Whitmore? Aren't you running for mayor of Chicago? I reach for the counter, steadying myself. I almost just told the upcoming mayor of Chicago to shove it up his ass. He leans on the counter, eyes boring into mine. Yours truly. I'm sure the entire city block can hear the sound of my heart breaking. With the new realization that I'm up against the town's golden boy, I am distraught. There's absolutely no way to come out of this unscathed and keep my shop. I suddenly feel lightheaded and scramble to the nearest table to sit down. I lower my head on my arms and fight with everything I have to keep the tears at bay. Suddenly, I hear the familiar screech of the chair across from me being pulled across the linoleum. I steel myself and muster whatever little bit of humility I have left and raise my head to him. I'm taken aback by the brief look of concern in them, but I can't let that deter me from keeping my composure. Just go, I say, my voice breaking. You win. There's no way I'm going to be able to keep this bakery. Leave while I still have some dignity intact? You owe me that much. He glances around the bakery, taking in the worn furniture and peeling paint. It might seem like an eyesore to him, but all I can see is happiness and memories. Myself covered in flour, laughing at something Grandma said, her singing along to the radio while piping a cake. Maybe there's a way, he says. My laugh is bitter. With what? Alone? Charity? Not necessarily. His tone shifts from casual to serious. I stare at him, unsure of what game he's playing. Enough with the crap. What's in it for you? A blood sacrifice? My firstborn child? I scoff. His gaze locks onto mine, intense and unwavering. I need a favor. A favor? My suspicion deepens. Yes, he says, leaning closer. I need you to marry me. The words hang in the air between us, like an impossible puzzle piece that doesn't fit anywhere in my reality. You've got to be kidding. I shake my head. I'm not, he sighs awkwardly. It would be temporary, 6 months max. As you know, I'm planning to run for mayor of Chicago. He continues, meeting my gaze head on. I want to improve my public image, to seem more relatable. So you think a fake marriage to a struggling baker will do that? My skepticism drips from every word. It's not that far-fetched. He leans forward, closing the space between us. You're genuine and passionate about what you do. People can see that. You don't even know me, I say quietly. True, he admits. But anyone can see how much this place means to you. I find myself rising from the table. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to be some trophy wife for a gentrifier. I fire back. Derek's jaw drops. Gentrifier? Is that what you think I am? Look around, I say, gesturing to the neighborhood outside. People like you buy up properties, jack up rents, and force people like me out. You think I want to be part of that? He steps closer, his expression hardening. I'm not here to drive anyone out. I'm here to help. I scoff. By using me for your campaign, I scoff. No thanks. His jaw tightens, but he doesn't back down. Layla, this isn't just about my campaign. I fold my arms across my chest, defiant. And why should I believe you? Because I don't make promises lightly, he says, his voice steady. I shake my head. I can't do it. I won't sell out my family's legacy for some billionaire's PR stunt. He takes a deep breath, his voice dropping low. Tell you what, if this crashes and burns, then I will still continue to lease you the building at the current rate. My heart skips a beat. What? Why would you do that? My voice is barely more than a whisper. Because, he says, looking directly into my eyes, this place matters to this community, and because I believe in investing in things that matter. I chew on my bottom lip, weighing his words. His intensity is palpable. There's no denying his conviction. He grabs a business card from his pocket. Look, think it over and get back to me. I know it's a lot to take in, but just consider it okay. He slowly starts to walk towards the door. Right before he exits, he looks over his shoulder. Think about it, Layla, he says before walking out. I stare at the business card like it's some kind of cruel joke. The absurdity of it all makes me want to laugh and cry at the same time. I slump against the counter, my head spinning. Sweet Dreams has been my family's lifeline for generations. Losing it feels like losing a piece of myself. But marrying a billionaire real estate developer, it sounds like something out of a bad romance novel. But then again, what choice do I have? I sprint towards the door and open it with force. I take a deep breath to steady myself. What's the catch? I ask, folding my arms over my chest. No catch, he says. You save your bakery, and I get the public image boost I need. And after 6 months, we part ways, he says simply. No strings attached. You'd really do that? I ask, searching his face for any hint of deceit. I would, he says, his gaze unwavering. And so would you. It's not a question. It's a statement of fact that sends a shiver down my spine. He's sure of himself in a way that's both infuriating and oddly comforting. Okay, I say finally, the word tasting foreign on my tongue. Okay? He raises an eyebrow, as if daring me to back out now. Yes, I say more firmly this time. But we set some ground rules. Fair enough. His lips curl into a smirk. We'll draft a contract. I nod slowly, still grappling with the enormity of what I've just agreed to. Derek pulls out his phone and starts typing away. I'll have my lawyer draft something up, he says without looking up from his screen. Great, I mutter, feeling like I've just made a deal with the devil himself. He looks up and meets my gaze again, his eyes softer this time. You won't regret this. We'll see about that, I reply, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. He pockets his phone and gives me one last nod before turning to leave again.
Chapter 4. Derek. It's been days since our agreement, and I find myself at Sweet Dreams more often than not. Layla works behind the counter, her movements efficient yet graceful. You're back again, she says, barely looking up from a tray of cupcakes. My goal is to try a different cupcake every day, I reply, leaning against the counter. Besides, we need to discuss our arrangement. Right. She wipes her hands on a towel and nods towards the small table by the window. Let's sit. We take our seats and she fixes me with a look that could pierce steel. So, what's your grand plan? She asks. We need to make this look real, I say, folding my arms across my chest. Public appearances, romantic dinners, the whole 9 yards. Layla's eyes narrow slightly. And where do we start? My penthouse, I suggest, watching her reaction closely. It's private and has a great view of Lake Michigan, perfect for planning our whirlwind romance. She snorts but doesn't argue. Fine. When? Tomorrow evening, I say without hesitation. I'll send a car to pick you up. Layla stands, signaling the end of our conversation. All right, see you then. She walks back to the counter without another word. As I walk into my living room, the intercom buzzes. Mr. Whitmore, Miss Layla is here. Send her up, I reply. Moments later, Layla steps into the penthouse, her eyes widening as she takes in the panoramic view of Lake Michigan through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I can't help but notice how different she looks, not donning an apron and covered in flour. She's a beautiful woman. Nice place, she mutters. Thanks, I say with a smirk. Want a tour? No need, she replies quickly. Let's get down to business. We sit on opposite ends of the sleek leather couch. I pull out a notepad and pen. How very business mogul of you, she says with a laugh. So we need to make people believe we're madly in love, I start. Layla rolls her eyes but nods. Yeah, so what's first on your list? Dinner dates, I suggest. We need to be seen together in public. And what? Gazing into each other's eyes over expensive entrees? She quips. Exactly. I can't help but grin at her sarcasm. She sighs heavily. What else? We'll need some photos for social media, I continue, jotting down notes. Layla grimaces. Are your stylists supplying my wardrobe? Because if not, I have about 3 different aprons I keep in rotation. She says it jokingly, but I can tell there's an underlying hint of concern. Of course. I've already set something up. I'm also thinking maybe a weekend getaway here and there, I add. Her eyebrows shoot up in surprise. A weekend? Seriously? It'll make it more believable, I explain. Layla looks at me with an eyebrow raised. That will warrant further discussion. But first, let's nail down our how we met story. I lean back, considering the options. How about a charity auction? It's plausible enough. Charity auction? She tilts her head. Go on. We could say we were both there to support local schools, I suggest, my eyes meeting hers. It fits with my campaign and your community involvement. Layla taps her chin thoughtfully. Okay, and what? We got into a bidding war over some ridiculous item? Exactly, I say, feeling a surge of excitement at how quickly she's catching on. Something unique, maybe a piece of art or a fancy dinner experience. She smirks. How about a cooking class with a famous chef? Fits my bakery angle. I can't help but laugh. Perfect. So we both bid aggressively, refusing to back down. And you ended up winning because you're the billionaire, she adds with a roll of her eyes. Of course. But then I realized how passionate you were about it and offered to share the experience. Very chivalrous, she says dryly. And that's when sparks fly? Right, I nod. We bond over our mutual love for good food and philanthropy. Layla's lips curl into a reluctant smile. All right, that could work, but we need details to make it believable. We'll say it was at the annual Chicago Youth Empowerment Gala, I suggest. She nods in agreement. And the cooking class was with Chef Marco Santini. Nice touch, I say, jotting it down. What else? We should have some inside jokes or anecdotes from the event, she says thoughtfully. Like how you tried to sneakily outbid me by raising your paddle behind your menu, I offer, and you countered by making a grand show of each bid, just to annoy me, she adds with a chuckle. I grin. Exactly. And after the auction we got to talking and realized we had more in common than we thought. Layla nods slowly, as if picturing it all in her mind. Okay, we've got our story. I reach out and clasp her hand firmly. We'll make them believe every word. She smiles, and it's a breath of fresh air. Sitting across from her, I can't help but admire the determination in her eyes. This isn't just about saving her bakery. It's about preserving a piece of her family's history. She's fierce, and I respect that. "All right," she says, her voice firm. "We need to outline the specifics of this fake marriage." "Agreed," I nod, leaning forward. "Let's start with the public appearances. We'll need to be seen together regularly. No surprise events. I need at least 48 hours' notice." "Deal." I jot it down, impressed by her foresight. "What about social media?" She crosses her arms, thinking it over. "I'm down for staging some photos, but nothing too personal. I don't want the paparazzi camping out at the shop." "I understand," I say, appreciating her boundaries. "Anything else?" "I have my own bet on these weekend getaways," she states firmly. I nod again. "Got it." We go over a few more details before Layla leans back, seemingly satisfied with our agreement. "You really thought this through," I say, genuinely impressed. "Had to," she replies, meeting my gaze squarely. "This is my livelihood on the line." For a moment, there's a pause as we both reflect on what's at stake. "You know," I begin slowly, shifting gears, "one of the main reasons I'm running for mayor is to improve Chicago's schools." Her expression softens slightly, curiosity replacing her usual guardedness. "Really?" "Yeah." I nod, feeling a rare vulnerability surface. "I grew up here. My mom was a teacher in one of the rougher neighborhoods. She always said education was the key to changing lives." Layla's eyes soften as she listens. "That's actually really noble." I shrug, feeling a bit exposed sharing this side of myself. It's something I care deeply about. If elected, I want to increase funding for schools and make sure every kid has access to quality education. She studies me for a moment before speaking again. "Maybe you're not just another gentrifier after all."
Chapter 5. Layla. The phone rings just as I'm frosting a batch of apple dumpling cupcakes. I wipe my hands on my apron and grab it. "Sweet dreams, Layla speaking?" "Layla, it's Derek." His voice is smooth, confident. No preamble, just straight to business. "Hey, what's up?" "We've got a charity gala for Chicago's Children's Hospital this Saturday. You'll need to attend with me." I blink. "A charity gala?" "Yes. It's crucial for my campaign. My stylist will follow up with you to get your sizes and find out what gown you'd like." I nearly dropped the phone. "A gown? You're really pulling out all the stops, huh?" He laughs. "You can't show up in an apron, Layla. We need to look the part." I roll my eyes, even though he can't see me. "Fine. When's your stylist calling?" "Within the hour," he says. "Roger that," I reply, and hang up. I get back to frosting cupcakes, my mind spinning. A gala? With a gown? I've never been to anything so fancy in my life. Not that I can't handle it, but it's a far cry from baking cupcakes. My phone rings again an hour later, right on cue. "Hello, this is Miranda, Derek's stylist," a crisp voice announces. "I need your sizes and preferences for your gown." I sigh, trying to remember the last time I bought anything fancy. I'm a size 8 in dresses." "And what color do you prefer?" Miranda asks. "Something bold. Red, maybe?" "Got it," she replies efficiently. "We'll have a selection sent over tomorrow for you to choose from." "Thanks," I mutter before hanging up. I stare at my phone for a moment, then get back to work. I focus on finishing the cupcakes and preparing for tomorrow's onslaught of gowns. One step at a time, Layla. One step at a time. A sleek black limo pulls up in the driveway. Derek steps out, looking like he belongs on the cover of a magazine. "Wow, Layla. You look stunning." I tug at the hem of my scarlet red gown, feeling oddly self-conscious. Thanks. You don't look too bad yourself. He offers his arm and I take it, feeling the warmth of his body through the fabric of his suit. We settle into the limo, and I can't help but marvel at the luxury inside. Leather seats, a minibar, even mood lighting. Derek clears his throat. So we need to go over our story one more time. I nod, focusing on the task at hand. Right, we met at a charity auction. Correct, he says, pulling out a small notepad. We had a bidding war over Chef What's-His-Name. I roll my eyes. And you won because you have deeper pockets. He smirks. But you won my heart with your passion for pastries. I laugh despite myself. That sounds so cheesy. Gotta give the people what they want, he replies, shrugging. We spend the rest of the ride fine-tuning our story. The limo slows down as we approach the venue. The driver announces our arrival. Ready? Derek asks. As I'll ever be, I reply with a tight smile. He squeezes my hand once more before letting go and stepping out of the limo to face the flashing cameras and curious eyes waiting outside. The show begins now. The moment we step into the grand ballroom, I'm hit by the sheer opulence of it all. Chandeliers hang like crystal waterfalls, and the room buzzes with the chatter of Chicago's elite. Derek keeps his hand on the small of my back, guiding me through the crowd. Layla, meet Senator Nelson, he says, stopping in front of a tall man with a stern face. I plaster on a smile. Nice to meet you. The senator nods curtly. So you're Derek's girlfriend? He's told me quite a bit about you. I glance at Derek, who gives me a reassuring smile. All good things, I hope. The senator actually chuckles. Indeed, he speaks highly of your bakery. Sweet Dreams is my pride and joy, I say, feeling more at ease. Derek and I continue to mingle, meeting one influential person after another. Everyone is surprisingly nice, even if their smiles seem a bit too polished. A waiter passes by with a tray of champagne flutes, and Derek grabs two, handing one to me. You're doing great, he whispers in my ear. Thanks, I whisper back, taking a sip to steady my nerves. The night progresses smoothly until the band starts playing a waltz. Derek takes my glass and sets it down on a nearby table. Shall we? He asks, extending his hand. I hesitate for just a moment before placing my hand in his. Sure. He leads me to the dance floor and pulls me close. His strong arms wrap around me, and I can't help but notice his cologne, sandalwood with a hint of citrus. It's intoxicating. We start to move in sync with the music, and I focus on matching his steps. My heart races, not from the dance, but from being this close to him. You're surprisingly good at this, I say, trying to lighten the mood. I had to learn for events like these, he replies, his eyes locking onto mine. The way he looks at me sends shivers down my spine. We twirl gracefully across the floor, and I can't help but feel flustered by his touch and scent. You're not so bad yourself, he adds softly. Thanks, I murmur, trying to keep my composure. Derek's hand tightens slightly on my waist as we continue to dance. His eyes are intense, focused entirely on me. I feel the heat of his gaze travel from my face down to where the red gown clings to my curves. It makes me feel exposed, like he can see right through the fabric and into my very soul. You're really something, you know that, he murmurs, his voice low enough that only I can hear. Flattery won't get you anywhere, Derek, I quip, trying to lighten the mood, but even I can hear the breathlessness in my voice. He smirks but doesn't break eye contact. Who says I'm flattering you? My pulse quickens, and I try to focus on the steps of the dance. This is all just part of the act, I remind myself. Yet, there's a magnetic pull between us that feels anything but fake. We continue to glide across the dance floor. but it's impossible to ignore how perfectly we fit together. The music begins to slow, and Derek pulls me closer. His breath tickles my ear as he whispers, "You did really well tonight." I force a laugh. "Thanks, Sensei." He chuckles softly. I catch sight of our reflection in one of the grand mirrors lining the ballroom walls. We look like a real couple. No, not just any couple, but one deeply in love. The song ends, and Derek reluctantly lets go of me, though his hand lingers a moment longer than necessary. "We should get back," he says finally. "Yeah," I agree, trying to shake off the spell he's cast over me. We walk off the dance floor and back into the sea of faces and fake smiles. Each step feels like I'm tearing away from something that was almost real, if only for a moment.
Chapter 6. Derek. The week has slipped by without any need to play the part of a couple. I find myself in my office, staring at the skyline. My mind keeps wandering back to that night at the gala. Layla, in that red gown, moving gracefully in my arms. I can still smell her perfume, a subtle hint of vanilla and something floral. It felt strangely comfortable, dancing with her. Too comfortable. I shake my head, trying to clear the thought. This is just business. The decision to visit Sweet Dreams comes almost naturally. I grab my coat and head down to the street, walking the few blocks to her bakery. The bell above the door jingles as I step inside, the warm scent of baked goods enveloping me. Layla stands behind the counter, icing a batch of cupcakes with practiced ease. Her eyes lift and meet mine, a flicker of surprise quickly masked by her usual sass. "Back for another salted caramel mocha?" she teases. "Maybe," I reply, leaning against the counter. "But actually, I came here with a proposition." She raises an eyebrow. "Carry on." I chuckle. "I was thinking we should go to dinner tomorrow night." Layla's eyes narrow slightly, assessing me. "For sighting purposes." "Exactly," I nod. "There's a new restaurant opening up downtown. It'll be good for us to be seen together." She hesitates for a moment before nodding. "All right, but only if you promise not to order anything too pretentious." "I'll leave the ordering to you," I say with a grin. Her lips twitch into a smile, and for a moment, there's no pretense between us. Just an easy camaraderie that feels oddly genuine. "Deal," she says finally. I turn to leave, but pause at the door. 7 o'clock tomorrow? 7 it is, she confirms. I pull up to Layla's house in my Audi, the engine purring softly as I park. The neighborhood is quiet, the streetlights casting a soft glow on the sidewalk. She steps out and my breath catches. Layla's wearing a simple but flattering black cocktail dress that hugs her curves just right. Her heels click softly against the pavement as she walks toward me, and for a moment I'm struck by how effortlessly she commands attention. "Wow," I murmur under my breath. She reaches the car and gives me a once-over, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "Must be special if you splurged and drove the nice car tonight." I grin, opening the passenger door for her. This is just one of 4. Layla laughs, a genuine sound that cuts through the evening air. "Of course it is," she says, sliding into the seat with grace. I close the door behind her and make my way around to the driver's side. Settling in, I glance over at her, unable to hide my admiration. As we drive toward downtown, Layla fiddles with the radio until she finds a station playing some smooth jazz. It fills the silence between us. "Nice choice," I say, glancing over at her. The rest of the drive is filled with easy banter and laughter. For a moment, it feels like we're just 2 people enjoying each other's company, rather than participants in an elaborate ruse. When we finally arrive at the restaurant, I pull up to the valet and hand over my keys. The valet looks impressed by the car, naturally, but I'm more focused on Layla as she steps out, exuding confidence and grace. "Ready to be seen?" I ask her as we walk toward the entrance. She looks up at me, eyes sparkling with mischief, You know it. We step inside the restaurant, a chic spot with low lighting and modern decor. It's one of those places where the ambience alone screams exclusivity. Despite its trendiness, no one seems to recognize me right away, which is a relief. I lean in closer to Layla as we follow the hostess to our table. It'll take a bit for word to get around that I'm having dinner here with my girlfriend, I whisper. She raises an eyebrow but doesn't comment, just nods. We reach our table, tucked away in a cozy corner. Perfect for maintaining the illusion without too many prying eyes right away. A waiter appears with menus and a wine list. Layla flips through hers with practiced ease while I order us a bottle of red. Something bold but smooth. So, she says after the waiter leaves, did you always want to be a mayor? No, I had plans to be stunt double for Brad Pitt. She laughs, nearly spitting out her mouthful of chilled water. So modest, she replies. The waiter returns with our wine and takes our orders, Layla choosing some kind of intricate seafood dish while I go for a classic steak. As we sip our wine, the conversation flows easier than I expected. Layla talks about her grandmother's bakery and how it's been part of the community for decades. She started it from nothing, she says, pride evident in her voice. Back then, it was more than just a place to buy cupcakes. It was a safe space. I nod, listening intently. Sounds like she was quite a woman. She was, Layla says with a small smile. Taught me everything I know about baking. We finish our meal and head outside, waiting on the valet to bring the car around. The night outside is crisp, the Chicago skyline twinkling like a sea of stars. Layla stands next to me, her arm linked through mine as we step out onto the sidewalk. The moment our feet hit the pavement, the flash of cameras blinds us. I glance at Layla, her face illuminated by the flurry of lights. She looks unfazed, a picture of calm and poise. I lean down, whispering in her ear. Ready for our first public kiss? Her eyes meet mine. I guess we should get it over with. I wrap my arm around her waist, pulling her closer. Her breath hitches slightly, but she doesn't pull away. Instead, she tilts her head up, lips parting slightly. The world around us fades as I close the distance between us. Our lips meet softly at first, a gentle brush that feels surprisingly tender. But then something shifts. The kiss deepens, our mouths moving in sync, as if drawn by an invisible force. My hand moves up to cradle her face, fingers tangling in her hair. Layla responds with equal fervor, her hands gripping the lapels of my jacket. The kiss becomes urgent, almost desperate. Her lips are soft and warm against mine, tasting faintly of the wine we shared earlier. For a moment I forget about the cameras, about the deal we struck. All that exists is this kiss, this intense connection that neither of us expected. Our tongues dance together, exploring each other with an intensity that leaves us both breathless. When we finally break apart, I'm panting slightly, my forehead resting against hers. Layla's eyes are wide, her lips swollen from our passionate embrace. The cameras continue to flash, but I don't care. That, she murmurs, her voice barely above a whisper. I nod, unable to find words that can adequately describe what just happened. We stand there for a moment longer before I finally step back slightly, still holding onto her hand. The paparazzi have captured what they came for, a kiss that will be splashed across tabloids by morning. But as I look at Layla, her chest rising and falling rapidly, I know this was more than just an act for the cameras. Should we go back to my place to plan our next event? She nods breathlessly. We make our way back to the limo and get inside. Once we arrive, I help her out and we enter my building. The elevator ride up to my penthouse is a blur. Layla's hand is warm in mine, and every time our eyes meet, the tension crackles between us. The second the doors slide open, I pull her inside, our lips crashing together once more. Clothes quickly scatter across the floor, each piece discarded in a frenzy. Her dress slips from her shoulders, pooling at her feet, and I can't help but marvel at the sight of her. She's breathtaking. The moonlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting an ethereal glow over everything. It highlights Layla's curves as she stands before me, eyes dark with desire. I close the distance between us, trailing kisses down her neck. "This wasn't part of the plan," she says as she arches against me, a soft moan escaping her lips. My hands explore her body, memorizing every inch of her skin. Each touch ignites a fire within me, driving me to want more. Need more. "Maybe we need to add a footnote in the contract," I say, my voice husky and riddled with desire. "If you want to know what happens next, get the uncut version of this audiobook from TylaWalker.com, because some scenes are just too spicy for YouTube. Miss Tyla wants to make sure that you get all of the dirty details, so she's offering a YouTube listener exclusive promo code so that you can get 40% off of any digital product on her site. Just use code SAVE40 and cash in that discount on audiobooks, ebooks, and even bundles." Let's return to the story. She comes beautifully, my name on her lips, and I follow willingly right behind her. As we both come down from our high, I lean over the side of the bed and open the nightstand door. I grab the ring box that my assistant picked up for me at the local jeweler today. "This probably isn't the best moment to be giving you this," I say, as I open the ring box. "But I got your ring today. It should be already sized to fit." Layla's eyes grow to the size of saucers as she gazes at the overzealous diamond ring. "Wow, way to set the bar too high during this fake engagement that I'm going to be disappointed when a real one comes along," she says with a small laugh. I offer her the box. "Here, you should probably put this on, make sure it fits." She looks at me a little off kilter as she removes it from the box and puts it on her finger. "Look, perfect fit." She smiles an uneasy smile. I take her hand and look at the ring as it glistens against her caramel skin. I attribute the post-sex high to the warm feeling in me right now. I'll have my PR team release a statement about our engagement to the press tomorrow. "Sounds good," she says. She rests her head back on my chest, but the energy between us is slightly different than before. Without giving it much thought, I let myself drift off to sleep.
Chapter 7. Layla. I wake up to the soft light filtering through the curtains, casting a gentle glow on the room. I turn my head slightly and see Derek lying beside me, his chiseled chest rising and falling with each breath. The sheets are tangled around us, remnants of a night that was supposed to be fake but turned all too real. Derek looks different in sleep. His face is relaxed, lips slightly parted. I can't help but reach out and trace a finger along his jawline, feeling the rough stubble under my touch. For a moment, I let myself enjoy the view. It's nice waking up next to someone who looks like they walked out of a magazine, but then reality crashes down on me like a bucket of cold water. What have I done? This wasn't part of the plan. I sit up carefully, trying not to wake him. My mind races as I gather my thoughts. Mixing business with pleasure was never supposed to happen. This arrangement was supposed to be simple. Save the bakery, play the part of the loving fiancé, then walk away after 6 months. But last night was anything but simple. I slip out of bed and start gathering my dress from the floor, each piece reminding me of how out of control things got. My heart pounds in my chest as I think about what this could mean for our deal. If we can't keep our feelings in check, everything could fall apart. The scent of sandalwood and citrus still lingers on my skin, a reminder of how intoxicating Derek can be. I bite my lip, trying to push down the emotions threatening to overwhelm me. This is just business, I remind myself. I glance back at Derek one last time before heading to the bathroom. The sight of him stirs something inside me that I'm not ready to face. But I know one thing for sure. I need to get my head back in the game before it's too late. As I splash water on my face, I take a deep breath and look at myself in the mirror. "You've got this," I whisper to my reflection. But deep down, I can't ignore the nagging feeling that things have already changed between us, and there's no going back now. I hear a soft knock on the bathroom door, and Derek's voice follows. You gonna stay in there all day? I take a deep breath, then open the door. Derek stands there, his eyes scanning my face. What's going on in that head of yours? He leans against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. I can see your wheels turning from here. I bite my lip, feeling the tension between us thickening. I search his eyes for a hint of regret, but find none. Just curiosity and something else I can't quite place. Do you think last night was a mistake? Derek's smirk fades, replaced by a more serious expression. He steps closer, closing the distance between us. Do you? I feel my heart racing again, and I look down at the floor, avoiding his gaze. I don't know, I admit. This wasn't part of the plan. Plans change, he says, lifting my chin with his finger so I have to meet his eyes. Do you regret it? His question hangs in the air, heavy and demanding an answer. I swallow hard, trying to sort through my tangled thoughts and emotions. Part of me wants to say yes, to keep things simple and stick to our agreement. But another part of me can't deny the connection we felt last night. No, I finally say, my voice barely above a whisper. As we move back into the bedroom, I sense a shift in his demeanor. Derek, I ask, pulling him to sit on the edge of the bed with me. What's going on? He looks at me, his eyes searching mine. The vulnerability I saw while he slept is back. But there's something else there, too. Fear. Nothing, he starts. Voice rough. My heart skips a beat. What is it? He takes a deep breath like he's bracing himself for an impact. I'm afraid to fall for someone who might only be in this for financial security. The question hits me like a punch to the gut. I pull my hand away, standing up to create some distance. What? How could you think that? His gaze follows me, eyes dark with doubt and confusion. This arrangement, it started as a business deal, but last night, things changed. And I can't shake this feeling that it's going to kill me if you're just playing your part. I stare at him, stunned. Derek, this was your idea. I know, he says quietly, standing up too. Anger flares up inside me. You think I'm that shallow? That I'm just using you? I don't know what to think, he admits. I yank my hand away and take a step back, needing space to process this. This was supposed to be simple, a business deal. But now you're questioning my motives because we connected. He runs a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. It's more than that, and you know it. I cross my arms over my chest defensively. So, what do you want from me? Reassurances? Promises? I want the truth, he says simply. The truth? I repeat, feeling my walls starting to crack under his intense gaze. Yeah, he says, stepping closer again but not touching me this time. Are you falling for me? Or am I just your ticket to saving sweet dreams? I feel like the ground beneath me is shifting, making it hard to find solid footing. The truth is staring me in the face, and it's terrifying. Derek, I say finally, voice trembling despite my best efforts to stay strong. I suddenly realize just how complicated things have become between us, and how much harder it's going to be from here on out. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of Derek's question hanging between us. The tension in the room is almost suffocating, but I know we need to address this if we're going to move forward. Let's keep this professional. We agreed on a business arrangement, and we need to stick to that, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Derek's jaw tightens, but he nods. Right, professional. I can see the conflict in his eyes, and I know it mirrors my own. This attraction between us complicates everything, but we both have too much at stake to let it derail our plans. I swallow hard, trying to ignore the pang of disappointment that comes with those words. This is what I wanted, what we both need. Okay, I say, giving a curt nod. We stand there for a moment, completely silent. The room feels too small with all the unspoken emotions swirling around us. Derek finally breaks the silence. I have that press conference later today, he says, shifting back into business mode. I've got to get prepared. I'll have my driver take you home. Right, I say, grateful for the distraction. Good luck. Derek nods again, determination etched on his face. Thanks. I will call you when it's time for our next gig. I throw myself into remodeling the bakery, every ounce of energy channeled into saving sweet dreams. The scent of sawdust and fresh paint fills the air as I work alongside the contractors that were hired, making sure every detail is perfect. The space starts to transform, morphing from its old, tired self into something new and vibrant. It's exhausting, but seeing the progress gives me hope. Hey, Layla, where do you want this display case? One of the workers calls out. Over by the window, I shout back, pointing. It'll catch the morning light there? I turn my attention to the menu board, deciding which innovative cupcake flavors to feature front and center. Bourbon pecan pie? Lavender honey? Maybe I'll add a new one to celebrate our reopening. Something bold like mango chili lime. Meanwhile, things have been distant with Derek as he focuses on his campaign prep. He's been in meetings nonstop, strategizing with his team about how to win over Chicago's voters. Occasionally, he texts me updates or sends photos of potential venues for our next public appearance. His dedication is impressive. He's as committed to his campaign as I am to saving sweet dreams. But despite our separate missions, we still find moments of connection. Like when he swings by the bakery to check on the progress, like he is right now. How's it coming along? He asks, stepping inside with that confident stride of his. Good, I reply, wiping sweat from my forehead. We're on track for the grand reopening. He looks around appreciatively. It's really coming together. Thanks, I say, feeling a small swell of pride. How's the campaign? Busy, he admits with a sigh. But it's going well. We share a look. One that acknowledges the craziness of our situation, but also the unspoken bond we've formed through it all. Need any help? He offers, surprising me. I raise an eyebrow. Really? He chuckles. Hey, I'm more than just a suit and tie. I smile at that. All right then, grab a paintbrush. Derek rolls up his sleeves and gets to work beside me. It's strange seeing him in this setting, so different from his usual world of boardrooms and campaign rallies, but also oddly comforting. Chapter 8. Layla. Our next event together is a political mixer at a local venue hall. And I'm playing my part as the doting fiancé to perfection. Layla, this is Mr. Thompson, Derek says, turning to introduce me. He owns the bookstore down on Maple Street. I extend my hand with a bright smile. Nice to meet you, Mr. Thompson. I've been meaning to stop by your store. Mr. Thompson beams at me, clearly charmed. You're welcome anytime, Miss Layla, and congratulations on your engagement. You two make a wonderful couple. Thank you, I reply, glancing up at Derek with what I hope looks like genuine affection. He squeezes my hand in response, and for a moment, the line between act and reality blurs. As we move through the room, mingling with various attendees, I'm struck by how easily Derek slips into this role. He's charismatic and confident, making everyone feel important and heard. And though I'm just here to support his campaign image, I find myself admiring his dedication. Derek, Layla, a familiar voice calls out, and we turn to see Susan, one of Derek's campaign managers, approaching us with a broad smile. "Susan," Derek greets her warmly. "Glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," she replies before turning her attention to me. "Layla, you look stunning tonight." "Thank you," I say, feeling a genuine warmth toward her. As Susan engages Derek in conversation about campaign strategy, I scan the room again. It's filled with potential allies, people who could make or break Derek's mayoral bid. And despite my initial reservations about this whole arrangement, I realize how much is riding on tonight. Derek's arm slips around my waist as he wraps up his chat with Susan and guides me toward another group of attendees. His touch is firm yet gentle, grounding me amidst the whirlwind of activity. We continue playing our roles flawlessly. Me laughing at his jokes and him introducing me proudly to everyone we meet. Each interaction feels like a performance in its own right, but also strangely authentic. By the time we've made our rounds and spoken to nearly everyone in attendance, I'm exhausted but exhilarated. The night has been a success so far. For tonight at least, we are partners in every sense of the word, both on stage and off. And nothing can break our stride as long as we stick together through thick and thin, even if it's all part of an elaborate charade. As I make my way around the room, I catch a glimpse of Derek's campaign manager, Susan, talking to one of the other staffers near the entrance. They're speaking in hushed tones, but I can still make out bits and pieces of their conversation. My curiosity piqued, I inch closer, pretending to adjust the hem of my dress. "She's perfect for his image," Susan says, her voice low but firm. "The voters love her." The words hit me like a sucker punch. Perfect for his image? Is that all I am to them? A prop in Derek's grand political theater? I force myself to stay calm, smoothing my dress as if nothing's wrong, but inside, a storm brews. Susan continues, oblivious to my presence. Her background, her business. She's exactly what we needed to humanize him. I bite down hard on my lip to keep from scoffing out loud. So that's it. I'm a pawn in their game of public perception. My bakery, my struggles, they're just tools to paint Derek as a man of the people. Derek's laugh cuts through my thoughts as he finishes another conversation and heads toward me. He places a hand on the small of my back, his touch warm and steady. For a moment, I almost forget Susan's words. The mixer finally winds down, and as soon as we're alone in the car, I let my anger boil over. "So this is all just PR to you?" My voice is sharper than I intended. Derek looks genuinely puzzled. "What are you talking about?" "Susan," I spit out. "I heard her talking about me, about how I'm perfect for your image, that I'm just here to humanize you for the voters." He runs a hand through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "Layla, it's not like that." "Isn't it?" I cut him off. "Because from where I'm standing, it sure looks like you're using me as your diversity points." His eyes narrow. "You think this is easy for me, putting everything on the line?" I laugh bitterly. "Oh, please, spare me the martyr act. You're a billionaire running for mayor. You can afford to gamble." The car pulls up to my house, but neither of us moves to get out. The tension is suffocating. "Look," he says, his tone softening just a bit. "I admit the campaign benefits from our arrangement, but it's not the only reason." "Save it," I snap, my voice breaking. "I can't do this anymore." He reaches for my hand, but I pull away as if burned. "Layla." "No," I say firmly. "I'm calling off this fake engagement. I'm done being your pawn." For a moment, he just sits there, staring at me with those piercing blue eyes that once made my heart race, but now only fill me with anger and disappointment. "Fine," he finally says, voice low and defeated. I storm out of the car, feeling the cool night air hit my face like a slap. I hear Derek slam the car door behind me, his footsteps quickening to catch up. "Layla, wait!" he calls out, voice tinged with frustration. I whirl around to face him. "What? What more is there to say?" His eyes blaze with anger. "You think you're so high and mighty, acting like you're better than all of this? Well, guess what? You agreed to this." My chest tightens. "Yeah, to save my bakery, not to be paraded around like some kind of token." Derek steps closer, his jaw clenched. "And what about you, huh? What makes you any different? Using me for my money to save your bakery? Sounds like a gold digger to me." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stare at him, stunned. "Gold digger? Is that what you think I am?" He runs a hand through his hair, clearly agitated. "I don't know what to think anymore, Layla. You've got your own motives, too." My hands ball into fists at my sides. "You have no idea what it's like to fight for something real, something that matters." He laughs bitterly. "And you think I don't care about anything real? You think my life is just boardrooms and fancy champagne?" I shake my head, feeling tears prick at my eyes, but refusing to let them fall. "I don't know, Derek, but for me it's about keeping my grandmother's legacy alive." Derek's face softens slightly, but the hurt is still there. "And all I wanted to help you do that," he says quietly. "By making me your pawn?" My voice cracks despite my best efforts to keep it steady. The silence between us stretches, filled with unspoken words and raw emotions. Finally, I turn away from him. "I can't do this anymore," I repeat softly. I walk away from him and towards my house. I don't look back. I can't bear to see the look on his face or let him see the tears finally spilling over. Inside, I lean against the wall and take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The realization hits me hard. I've been so focused on saving sweet dreams that I've lost sight of myself in the process. And maybe Derek was right about one thing. We both had our own selfish motives going into this fake marriage. But now, it's time to find a way forward without losing who I am in the process.
Chapter 9. Derek. I sit alone in my penthouse, the city lights reflecting off the windows, casting a harsh glow on the chaos around me. Layla's words still echo in my head, her voice dripped with betrayal, her eyes flashing with hurt. I grip the edge of the counter, knuckles turning white. I replay the confrontation over and over, trying to pinpoint the moment I lost her trust. My campaign manager's idiotic comment was the catalyst, but the real problem runs deeper. I was an idiot to let her believe I was only interested in her for some twisted political gain. Layla left, her face set in that determined way she gets when she's decided on something. She's stubborn, fiery, and unapologetically herself. And somewhere along this ridiculous charade, I fell for her. Hard. I down a glass of scotch, hoping to dull the ache gnawing at my chest. It doesn't help. The burn in my throat just matches the fire in my heart. The penthouse feels empty without her laughter bouncing off the walls or her sassy comebacks keeping me on my toes. I run a hand through my hair and pace the room. How could she think she's just a pawn? Every time I looked at her, whether she was elbow-deep in flour at the bakery or dazzling in that red gown at the gala, I saw more than just a business deal. I saw strength, passion, and a heart bigger than this city. She accused me of using her, but isn't that what this whole arrangement started as? A business deal to save both our skins? Somewhere along the line, it became so much more. Damn it, I mutter to myself. What have I done? The truth hits me like a freight train. I'm in love with Layla, not just intrigued or captivated, full-on head over heels in love. Hours later, I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The city hums below, but it feels distant, disconnected. I can't shake Layla's face from my thoughts. Every time I close my eyes, I see the hurt in her eyes as she walked away. I toss and turn for what feels like hours before giving up. Rolling out of bed, I wander through the penthouse, each step echoing in the emptiness. I find myself standing out the window, looking out at the city that never sleeps. The skyline is lit up like always, but tonight it feels cold and indifferent. The first light of dawn creeps over the horizon when I finally grab my phone and call my brother Mike. He always seems to have good advice, unless it involves craft beer. He picks up on the second ring. "What's up?" "I messed up, Mike," I say, my voice rough from lack of sleep. "What happened?" I fill him in on everything. The arrangement, the overheard conversation, her confrontation, and her storming out. Mike listens without interrupting, which is a miracle in itself. "You've really got it bad for her, huh?" he finally says. "Yeah," I admit, sinking onto the couch. "I do." "Well, sitting around moping isn't going to fix anything. Get your ass out of that penthouse." "What good will that do?" "Look," Mike says, his tone firm but not unkind. "You need to clear your head. Meet me for a drink tomorrow. We'll talk it out." I hesitate, but he's right. Sitting here wallowing in self-pity won't help anything. "All right," I agree. "Where and when?" 7, he says. "Meet at O'Malley's?" "Sure." Mike's already there when I arrive at O'Malley's, nursing a beer at a corner booth. He looks up as I approach and gestures to the seat across from him. "Glad you made it," he says. I slide into the booth and order a drink from the waitress before turning back to him. Mike leans back, taking a swig of his beer. "Here's some brotherly advice," he starts, eyes narrowing in that no-nonsense way he has. "You gotta be careful not to choose your career over your personal life or vice versa. You'll end up with regrets either way." I stare into my glass, swirling the amber liquid. "I know, but how do I balance it?" Mike nods, setting his beer down. "That's for you to find out, brother. But the most important thing right now is, you're falling for Layla, right?" "Yeah. I didn't see it coming, but she's different. She's everything." "Then you gotta fight for her," Mike says firmly. "But also don't lose sight of why you're running for mayor in the first place. I'm sure by now she knows it's about more than just winning an election." He's right, and it frustrates me how clear it seems when he says it. "So what do I do? Layla thinks I'm using her." "First off," Mike begins, leaning forward, "isn't someone's campaign slogan 'honesty is the best policy'?" He laughs. "Tell her exactly what she means to you, and show her that your feelings aren't just about this arrangement." "And what if she doesn't believe me?" The thought gnaws at me. Mike shrugs. "You take that risk because she's worth it. Look, Derek, you've always been good at strategizing for business and politics. Use that brain of yours to win her back." I sigh, the enormity of it all settling on my shoulders. "And if I fail?" "You won't," Mike says with a confidence I don't quite feel yet. "'Cause this isn't just some campaign or business deal. This is your life we're talking about." The waitress brings another round of drinks, and I take a long pull from my beer. Mike's words bounce around in my head like an echo in a canyon. "I need to find a way to show her that she's more than just part of my image," I say slowly. "Exactly," Mike replies with a nod. "You have to make her see that she's more than just a political strategy to you." We sit in silence for a moment, both lost in thought. "I've got some ideas," I finally say. Mike grins and raises his glass. That's the spirit. Chapter 10. Derek. I pace around my penthouse, running my hands through my hair. The silence is suffocating, pressing down on me like a weight I can't lift. Mike's advice echoes in my mind. Be honest with her. Show her what she means to you. Easier said than done. I grab my phone and stare at the screen, her contact staring back at me like a dare. My thumb hovers over the call button. This is it. The moment where I either start fixing things or lose her for good. No more strategizing, no more overthinking. Just raw honesty. Just as I'm about to call, My phone buzzes, alerting me of an urgent email. I open the email and scan over the first few lines, and my stomach drops. Rival developers want to tear down the entire block, including Layla's bakery. If they succeed, Sweet Dreams and all the other small businesses will be history. I can't let that happen. Without wasting another minute, I dial my assistant's number. Lisa, I need you to organize a community meeting. Tonight, reach out to every business owner on Layla's block. Got it, she replies briskly. And get the word out to local media, I add before hanging up. I head down to Sweet Dreams. Layla is behind the counter, her expression guarded when she sees me. Is everything okay? She asks, confused. I've got news, I say, keeping my voice steady. Rival developers are planning to tear down this entire block. Her eyes widen, but she doesn't speak. I'm organizing a community meeting tonight, I continue. We need to rally support to preserve the neighborhood. She looks at me for a long moment, then nods slowly, her eyes hazy with unshed tears. All right. Thank you, Derek. Please let this work. I will do my absolute best, especially for you, I say as I head out the door. I have an important speech I need to prepare for. The small church hall is packed with concerned faces. Business owners, residents, even a few reporters are here. The tension is palpable. I step up to the podium and tap the microphone, my gaze sweeping over the crowd. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, I begin. As many of you know, there's a proposal from rival developers to tear down this entire block for high-end condos and retail space. A murmur of discontent ripples through the crowd. Good. They're as pissed as I am. We can't let that happen, I say firmly. This neighborhood has character, history, and people who care deeply about it. We need your support, letters to the city council, signatures on petitions, and most importantly, your voices at public hearings. People start nodding, some already pulling out their phones to take notes or record the meeting. An older man stands up in the back. I've lived here for 40 years, he says loudly. I've seen this neighborhood grow and change, but we've always been a community. A woman with a toddler on her hip adds, My kids play with their friends at Sweet Dreams after school. We can't lose that. The energy in the room shifts from fear to resolve. This isn't just about saving buildings. It's about preserving a way of life. There's something else I need to say, I begin, my voice carrying through the hushed room. This fight isn't just about preserving buildings or stopping developers. It's about love, real, genuine love for this community and its people. Layla looks at me, confusion flickering in her eyes. But I can't stop now. I came here today as a businessman, but I'm standing before you as someone who's deeply fallen for this neighborhood, I continue, and for one of its own, Layla. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Layla's eyes widen, her breath catching. I know we started out all wrong, I admit, but somewhere along the way, it became real for me. I turn to face her fully, ignoring the sea of faces watching us. Layla, you are everything this neighborhood stands for. Strength, resilience, heart. Her eyes glisten, but she holds my gaze steady. I love you, I declare, the words heavy and liberating at once. And I'm committed to preserving this area not just for business reasons, but because it's your home, and ours if you'll have me. The crowd erupts into applause and cheers. Layla's mouth parts in surprise, and she takes a hesitant step towards me. I raise my hand to quiet the crowd. I vow to use every resource at my disposal to fight against those who want to destroy what makes this place special. We'll keep Sweet Dreams and every small business thriving here. Layla's eyes search mine, and slowly a smile breaks across her face, a smile that tells me maybe I've done something right. This isn't just about saving a bakery or stopping gentrification. It's about preserving a community that means so much to so many people. The room bursts into applause again, louder this time, echoing with approval and hope. For once in my life, I found something worth fighting for that isn't measured in profit margins or campaign votes, something real and irreplaceable. And I'm not letting go of it for anything.
Chapter 11. Layla. I can't help but feel a surge of pride. He did this for me, for sweet dreams. I step towards him, needing to say something, anything to match his gesture. Derek, I start, my voice wavering but growing stronger with each word. You didn't have to do this. His eyes lock onto mine, filled with something I haven't seen before, vulnerability. I did it because I care about you, Layla. This place means something to you, and now it means something to me too. The room feels like it's closing in on us, the crowd's murmurs fading into the background. It's just him and me. My breath catches in my throat as I take another step closer. I need to say something too, I continue, feeling a lump forming in my throat. When we started this, I was dead set on it was just business. But somewhere along the way, I fell for you too. Derek's face softens, and he moves closer until there's barely any space between us. And not because of your money or what you could do for the bakery, I add quickly, wanting to make sure he understands. I fell in love with the real you, the one who cares about schools and neighborhoods and me. His hand reaches for mine, warm and reassuring. Layla, he says softly, almost like a whisper meant just for me. My heart swells as I look up at him. I don't care about your money or your campaign. All I want is you. Derek leans in, his forehead resting against mine. I love you too, he murmurs. The room hums with the energy of the community, but all I can focus on is Derek standing before me, his eyes locked onto mine. His confession, his vulnerability. It's all laid bare for everyone to see, but it feels like it's just for me. His hand squeezes mine, grounding me in this surreal moment. Without another word, Derek pulls me into his arms. Our lips meet in a kiss that's anything but fake. It's passionate, raw, and filled with every unsaid word and unspoken promise we've been holding back. The room erupts in cheers and applause around us, but I only hear the beating of my heart and the soft sounds of our breath mingling. His hands move to cup my face, thumbs brushing away tears I didn't realize were there. I feel his warmth seeping into me, anchoring me in this moment. I wrap my arms around his neck, pulling him closer, as if afraid he might slip away again. When we finally break apart, we're both breathless. Derek rests his forehead against mine, eyes closed as if savoring this connection. I never want to lose you again, he whispers, his voice hoarse with emotion. You won't, I reply firmly. Not if I can help it. The community around us seems to swell with joy and support. People clap us on the back and offer congratulations. It's overwhelming, but in the best way possible. You're stuck with me now, I tease him lightly as we navigate through the sea of well-wishers. Good, he grins back, that cocky confidence back in his eyes, but tempered with genuine affection. And as Derek's hand slips back into mine, giving it a reassuring squeeze, I know we're ready to face whatever comes next, together. After bidding farewell to all the neighbors in attendance tonight, we drive to his penthouse, his hand never leaving mine. All I can think about is how right this feels, and how in the end, even if things don't work out with the bakery, I'll have Derek. 30 minutes later, we enter the front door. He catches my gaze and smiles, that boyish grin that always makes my heart skip a beat. Come here, he says softly, holding out his hand. He pulls me close, wrapping his arms around me. I love you, he whispers against my ear, his breath warm on my skin. My heart flutters, and I look up at him. I love you too. His eyes darken with emotion as he lowers his lips to mine. The kiss is tender at first, but it quickly deepens, fueled by the honesty of our feelings. His hands roam my back, pulling me closer until there's no space between us. Are you feeling the heat yet? Because YouTube can't take it anymore, and since we can't air the dirty details here, we've put them up on tylawalker.com. Get 40% off with the discount code SAVE40. Back to the story.
Chapter 12. Derek. 1 year later, life looks completely different. Layla is pregnant with our child, and we're planning to open a community center in the neighborhood. The bakery buzzes with life and laughter. The new mayor's favorite cupcake is a hit. I stand at the counter, marveling at the line snaking out the door. Layla emerges from the kitchen, a tray of fresh cupcakes in hand. Her apron is dusted with flour, and there's a smear of frosting on her cheek. She looks more radiant than ever. "Busy morning," I comment, nodding toward the crowd. "Yeah, these folk can't get enough," she grins, placing the tray on the counter. I laugh. They have good taste. A customer approaches, eyes wide with excitement. "Are you Derek Whitmore, the mayor?" I nod, offering a polite smile. "Guilty as charged." The customer beams. "I love what you've done for the community, and these cupcakes, absolute heaven." "Thank you," I reply, glancing at Layla, who is beaming beside me. As the customer walks away with their treats, Layla nudges me with her elbow. "See? Even politicians can have a sweet side." "I guess you bring out the best in me," I admit, pulling her close for a quick kiss. The bell above the door jingles, and in walks Mike with his family. He waves enthusiastically. "Hey, lovebirds!" Layla waves back while I give Mike a nod. "Come to see if we can keep up with demand?" "You know it," Mike says, his kids already eyeing the cupcakes. Layla hands them each a treat before turning back to me. "So," she starts, voice low and teasing, "how does it feel having a cupcake named after you?" I smirk. "You know, I never thought my legacy would be tied to cupcakes." "Better than being known for tearing down neighborhoods," she retorts playfully. "True," I concede, chuckling, "but saving this one was worth it." Layla's eyes soften as she leans in closer. "Thank you for that." "For what?" I ask, feigning ignorance. "For believing in us, in sweet dreams." "I didn't just believe in sweet dreams," I say quietly, my gaze locking onto hers. Her eyes shimmer with understanding as she cups my cheek. "And that's why we're here now." The bakery door chimes as another customer leaves. I watch Layla shuffle over to the counter to take their order. I can't help but smile as I watch her move, hand resting protectively on her growing belly. "Hey, Mama," Mrs. Jenkins calls out softly. "How's the little one today?" "Kicking like it's ready to join the family business." I chuckle, walking up and placing my hand over hers on her belly. "Future baker or mayor?" "Why not both?" she quips, giving me that sassy grin I love so much. I kiss her forehead. In this moment, with Layla by my side and our future growing inside her, everything feels exactly right.